when I met Jesus Christ. He was almost 10 years old, and he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath a poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair. Back down the road I found the church we built on the black man's bones was empty, and out the front a sign read all but sold. A sign read all but sold. And we all owe so much money, but to whom we're not quite sure. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. So head down, we just keep running along our fading golden shores. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair.
Okay, we're going a bit early tonight because we got Trevor Hold on, and he might lose the light where he is, so we're going to bring him on for a chat. How are you, Trevor?
Hi.
The last time I interviewed you, you were deep in the fire ants battle, and what's been happening since then?
There seems to be a bit of delay, Michael, at the moment.
Oh, on the thing.
Looks like the internet must be playing up a bit.
I might hold on. How about now?
Yeah, I can.
Is that any better?
What's going on now? I can hear you. Looks like I've been booted out, have I? Or...
No, we can see you on the screen. I might log you out because there was two of you in. I might log you out and get you to log back in. Could you do that?
Yeah, okay.
Cheers. Yeah, so we're near Penong, and we've reached here today. Kel's in the place having a shower, probably leaving tomorrow, and then heading across to Perth. And so looking forward to seeing my mum. And yeah, so the show about Cartland Dr. Cartland last night went off. I thought it was going to be a dud because we mixed up the times, but then when he came on, it just exploded. So I've separated them up so you can see. And we went early now because Trevor Hold only has sunlight. So we'll just see if we can get him back in. Here he comes. How's that? Any better?
Try a bit better. Yeah, it started stuff up halfway through that song, but yeah, I can.
Oh, okay. Well, who knows? We're being effed with as usual.
No,
I
it's
said
too
the last
patchy.
time,
It's very
last time
patchy.
we had you on, you were deep in the fire ants battle. How's it been going since then?
No, I can't hear you. Sorry, the internet must be playing up, Michael. Sorry.
Oh, okay. What I might do
Hang
is
on.
I'll just get you to switch off your camera and just do audio.
Okay, we'll just try that. See, seems I've got plenty of reception here, so I don't know. It was going good when we were testing it before.
I can hear you fine. I can hear you really good.
Can you?
You
Okay.
can't hear me?
Okay, hang on. No, you're very patchy. I just can't hear you. Let me just see if I can do anything on my end. Just give me a second.
Okay,
Sorry.
Is that any better?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you fine now. Just before, sometimes I'm just picking up every third or fourth word, you know.
Oh, okay. Let's go. Let's see what happens. There's what I was going to say was last time we had you on, you were deep in the fire ants battle. What's been happening with you since, and is that still going on?
Yeah, it's been interesting, Michael, working in this fire ant campaign. A lot's happened since I last spoke to you. I suppose summarising the most important things were, I suppose there's been some research done with Professor Nigel Andrew from Southern Cross University, doing a pilot study on the fire ant treatment alternative that we got. I'm not sure if you remember, we actually were the first in Australia to import technology from University of Central Florida and patented by Professor Joshua King, who helped us with the specifications and the process and procedures to treating fire ants using his patent. So we ended up getting Southern Cross University Professor Nigel Andrew to do a pilot study on that, and that was found to be quite effective. And he made a public statement with that through the university, but unfortunately the program still hasn't got on board with accepting that sort of alternative. So it's being a little bit challenging, but talking to some barristers and that, I suppose the next biggest thing that we've identified is the actual executive order itself that they're using to do these things. It was signed in 2016. And since then, obviously, there's been a lot has evolved since 2016. And it seems that the program itself is indefinite. So the executive order is what's the authority that they use to violate or contravene fundamental human rights and private property rights and individual choice when they're storming people's properties and putting chemicals down without consent. That's what they're working under, and under Section 235 of the Biosecurity Act, Queensland, they're allowed to do that. But under 236, it says that the period in which the executive order or the program is authorised must be defined, and it must be reasonable to achieve its objectives. So at the moment, the program is indefinite forever. It doesn't have an end date, so it can't be reasonable. And interestingly enough, as we looked into it, in 2001, when fire ants were first discovered, it was 36,000 hectares, and they estimated that they were here for approximately 20 years prior to their discovery. Since that date, the New South Wales in 2025 published their executive order, which they do yearly. They renew theirs yearly, in contrast, but they publicated in theirs that the distribution of fire ants in Queensland is over 1.1 million hectares. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
But what's even fundamentally wrong with that, even more so, is that the biggest successful fire and eradication distribution was 10,000 hectares, and we're looking at 1.1 million hectares, and that's where we're at. so yeah.
I heard that because I was thinking, how do they get the people to spread the poison? But those people are getting good wages, aren't they?
Yeah, they're getting pretty good money, and they're getting like penalty rates on Saturdays and Sundays, and it's probably a pretty good way. I think it's a basic $40 an hour casual rate sort of thing.
Yeah, but
so,
times are hard at the moment. That's big
good
money, isn't it? You know.
Yeah. And I think fundamentally, if that's how you live your life and that's your values, you know, and you're doing it around the money, it just seems a little bit pointless. I wouldn't be jumping anyone's fence and violating their human rights for $40 an hour. I'll tell you right now.
No,
but obviously, like you say, some people value the money.
That's right.
And I want to point out too, it's interesting that some people are made to do it through. If they don't do it, then they will lose their Centrelink benefits too. So that's
I see. So it's like work for the dole thing. They've got no choice.
Work for the dole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So there is a few of them that going on. So that's where we're at. So it's quite interesting. So I think I've gone to court about 7 times on my matter. If you remember, something like that.
So what happens? Do they keep postponing it? Do they keep postponing it, or saying no?
So obviously the first few mentions or whatever, it was set to go to court on the 15th of January for a hearing, but they postponed that now to the 25th of March. So for those that don't remember, I was actually charged with obstructing police. So the interesting thing is we know a bit more about that now because obviously they were there under Section 261 of the Biosecurity Act, which says you can enter someone's property without consent because of the executive program, which is authorised under 235. But you can obstruct police under 336. You can obstruct biosecurity officers under 336 if you've got a reasonable excuse. And also under 238, you can contravene a direction from a public officer if you've got a reasonable excuse as well. So there's two sections of the Biosecurity Act that has that reasonable excuse explanation. And but police are there assisting the biosecurity officers under Section 16 of the Police Powers and Responsibility Act. So they can do that too. But their powers are derivative. So they can't do things that wouldn't be authorised for the officer to do anyway. So just quote, and this is the interesting thing, they just quote 261 saying we can enter your property without consent, but they're not considering all the other, like the Biosecurity Act's like this thick, and it's got a lot of other protections and a lot of other things in there. For example, my common law is not excluded. You still got judicial process, and you still got these other avenues documented in common law that they ignore, and they are to administer the act in accordance to the interests of people. I mean, so violating their act is not in their best interest, obviously. So that's interesting. So that's how the police come involved under Section 16 of the Biosecurity Act, and they're assisting the biosecurity officers. So, and the interesting thing is, even when they got there on my property, they said any obstruction here today will be dealt with under 336 of the Biosecurity Act. But in essence, they just bypassed that altogether and just charged me under Section 790 of the Police Powers and Responsibility Act, obstructing a police officer, which is a criminal offence. So they magically turned a civil matter into a criminal matter, and denied all my fundamental rights, judicial process, and that sort of stuff in doing that. So I'll be interested to see how we go in court.
Absolutely. And the process is like the punishment now, isn't it? The 8 times. This is what they do. I had the same for my fines. It just goes on and on and on and on. The same for Paul with the truck. It just goes on and on and on.
And I think that's a strategic play that they've got, because I have heard a lot of people, even when you go to court, and be interested to see whether it happens to me, they generally just dismiss it. You know what I mean?
I think that will happen after they.
We'll see what happens there. Yeah. So time will tell. Time will tell, and if they do, but I have heard what they do is they'll get to court on the day and say we present no evidence, Your Honour, and that's it. Gets dismissed. And it is what it is. But I paid so far. I did get some advice. So I paid some money, and I got some help for free from a human rights lawyer who
Cool.
I don't know whether I don't think he minds me saying, like, Peter Pham was helping the campaign
Peter
out
Pham,
quite,
yeah, I'm a good mate of Peter
quite a
Pham.
lot.
He's a
And
beautiful man.
he done a what do you call it? He done a scope of works for a barrister to have a look at the case for me, and we organised and we went into a barrister. So all up, it was about $10,000 worth of work. A bit of work for Peter Pham, a bit of work for the barrister or whatever. But it wasn't until that meeting with the barrister that I even knew about the executive order. You know what I mean? Even though they're obliged to tell you under what authority are you here, they keep saying 261 of the Biosecurity Act, but Section 261 doesn't give you any authority. It doesn't give you the authority. It's not there. It comes from an executive order that's signed, and it worked out that it was signed and dated in 2016. And that's probably the biggest development. And then the police minister sent me some correspondence about there's actually same as there's a 2023-2027 program strategic strategy resulting from the 2021 strategic review. There's also a 2023-2027 compliance and enforcement document that supplements that the police minister sent me a copy of. I didn't know anything about that either. So it's interesting that they're supposed to educate you on the laws that they're doing this sort of stuff, and they're not doing that. But anyway, so we got the executive order.
Bliss to them. Your ignorance is their bliss.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So we got the executive order. We've got the compliance and enforcement strategy, and the very first thing it says on there, if you've got an alternative, assess it and work with you with that, for compliance. You know what I mean? So it literally says that in the first paragraph of their enforcement and compliance and enforcement document. But they just don't want to know about the hot water. They just want to do chemical treatments. So
it's insane. Can I ask, how is the public response? Is that growing still, or are people giving up?
Yeah. So it's still it's quite exponential. There's a Facebook website that and despite what the program actually says, I'm not the administrator of it. It was already up and running when I joined the campaign. It was set up by Save the Bees, a guy called Simon at Save the Bees. He set it up with Sarah Maguire originally from Sanford, and they were going for a few months even before I even knew about the program. So I joined as a moderator just to help with some of the comments, because it is quite a big page. There's like 13,000 plus people on there.
So lots of comments be coming in. Yeah.
So you need some help with the moderating and that. And one of the best things about being a moderator is I don't need to get my posts approved, so I can just post them and it works out easier for me. So I'm helping out with that page, but there's about 13,000 people on there, which is great.
In the public, are people still getting shocked, like they're unaware that their properties can get infiltrated basically as they can without any warning? Are people still getting shocked?
Unless it's affecting you, people don't know about it. That's the thing.
That's right.
And they probably don't really realise that they're talking about, from now to the end of time, that they're going to treat you properly. I mean, like, people are probably pretty complacent and thinking that it's only going to be, that's all right, you can come and do that, whatever. And then they come back, weren't you just here? Oh, okay, you can come and do it. And then they start thinking, when they start seeing them 4, 5, 6 times, they hang on a minute, there's something wrong here.
That's right.
So,
especially if they're seeing results in their on their farms of animals dying or they're going to see a result. We interviewed one woman, I think we were in Toowoomba, or I can't remember really. Anyway, she said they came and sprayed behind her or spread the pellets out behind her, and the next morning there were 6 dead wallabies, and they just came, grabbed them, bagged them, and took off all silent. But 6,
Yeah,
are these stories you're hearing the same sort of thing?
Yeah, there's a lot. So Deborah Lee is a filmmaker. She made some documentaries. She done a 25-minute one on me. She done a 45-minute one on the hay farmers, and a 45-minute on the nurseries. So the nurseries were having a lot of problems. And then they done a 2-hour feature film, and a 45-minute summary of the whole thing. So
Mm.
that filmmaker done a lot of work in that space. So there's a lot of awareness and people are out there. And just recently, Lynn Sutherland, she's done some a lot of work called Toxic Water. She's released hers publicly now, so people can view that on YouTube as well. So that's always very good. So we've had Dr. Don Want. He's been doing. He's got a channel on Substack, and he does environmental effects on undone science is basically what he calls it. Is when they just
what was his name? Sorry, Doctor who?
Don Want, WANT. He's got a channel, and he's done some work on like aluminium and. Yeah, on Substack. Yeah, so he does a lot of stuff. He actually wrote a book on the human effect of these choices. I forget the exact name of his book, but he does like aluminium and vaccine, for example. He says there's no real study on that. You know what I mean? Like it's just
no
somehow
study.
they just pushed it through, and all the adverse effects.
And people believe it because it's a religion.
Yeah.
It's a religion.
So he's done a lot of that, and he's done a lot of critical reviews on some of the science that they're claiming. So the interesting thing that the program did for 25 plus years, the National Fire Ant Eradication Program lied to us about the S-methoprene product being organically compliant. It is not organically compliant. And August last year, it was the 25th of August, they made a statement saying that they're going to suspend all organic treatment because it contravenes the organic standard, or they use the word potentially does it, because of the genetically modified organisms, is what they said, the GMOs. That was on the 28th, I think, or late 25th or 28th of August, 2025. So, and apparently they didn't know about that before, even though their supplier is a known GMO supplier. But I think it was the 3rd of September, they rephrased it because the term genetically modified organism suggests that it's live. It can reproduce, like it's a seed. So these products aren't classed as genetically modified organisms. They are derivatives or products from genetically modified organisms. So what they use is they take the starch out of the corn, and then the starch, the corn is more absorbent for the oil, soya oil. So the soya oil is designed in such a viscosity and such a consistency that it can absorb or suspend the active ingredient, whether it be pyriproxyfen or S-methoprene, into the oil. So then it can soak into the corn grit. That's the genetically modified section of it. So interestingly enough, it doesn't mean it's perfect, because I've witnessed with my own eyes, and they deny it, but the oil can separate from the corn quite easily. It does happen on these hot days in Queensland. It happens all the time. And then bees and other insects like that can absorb, because they say, oh no, it doesn't affect bees because bees can't pick up their corn through their little nostrils or whatever. But it lands on the ground, and even if it lands in a flower from a helicopter in a flower, then it can separate from the corn grit, and that soya oil can go into the nectar with the active ingredient and mix in that way. So there's a lot of misinformation about how these chemicals can be absorbed, but any contact with them. So we've had Nigel Andrew made a few public statements about how they kill all the insects. I mean, it's not just fire ants, because they're originally telling us they were targeting fire ants, but so we've had a lot of people talk about that as well. So it's been quite a learning curve on all the technical side of it as well.
Well, we're living on the road, and we hardly ever have to clean our windscreen for insects. In fact, we never have to stop and clean it. It's almost like an event when one hits it, maybe one every 3 or 4 days. And
I remember coming back from Rockhampton to Derby, which is about a 6-hour drive when I was a kid. We used to put, I don't know if you did it too, but we used to put like fly screen over the radiator, and that so it was
Yeah.
easy to clean all the bugs. We used to do all this stuff so we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
We don't have to, like
I
you said,
remember
don't have
that.
to do that anymore.
No, you do not. You do not. But
Yeah,
that's what we used to have to do for the insects. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
noticing that, that's everywhere. We're on the Nullarbor now, where we
yeah,
stayed last night, just a little bush camp. And we were thinking, was thinking, what's unusual about it? And what was unusual? We were the only ones there, but there was no insect sounds.
yeah, yeah,
There was no, nothing chirping. There was
yeah,
just nothing.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
I know it's a desert, but this was a forest but nothing at all.
yeah,
And I've
yeah,
never experienced that before. And we're surrounded by enormous wheat fields out here, and they've had 9 bumper crops in a row. I just
yeah,
think, have they really killed everything, for the
yeah,
wheat?
yeah. And that's why it's important, I suppose. And it's a disappointing world in the fact that, based on, and it's interesting that it wasn't the chemicals that done it; it was this genetically modified thing that suspended the treatment on organic properties. But based on that suspension, we decided to look at the organic side of things. So,
Yeah.
to prove that you want to live, and it's a very sad world that we have to prove we want to live toxic-free lifestyles.
What a
With
comment.
it's just
Someone's got
bizarre
to beg.
in itself. Yeah. So what we did is there's a standard, Australian standard. It's managed by Standards Australia. It used to be SAA Global or whatever, but AS 6000, and it's about organic and registered regenerative procedures and land management. Traditionally, obviously for organic producers, they can use that, but they don't really. So that's a standard you have to pay for. It's actually governed by, and they call that a domestic standard, because the national standard is what they're calling, is another standard that's very similar to AS 6000, but it's actually managed by the Department of Fisheries, the Federal Farming and Fisheries, Agriculture and Fisheries, and Forestry, I think it is the other F, but DAFF, the federal body, actually manage this other standard, and they call that the national standard for organics. And you must be with one of the 3 accredited organisations to export product from this country. So that's a requirement, and they own that standard, and they made it so you must do it. But that's not relevant for domestic use. So the ACCC, for example, anyone can make an organic claim that their product is organic, and if someone disagrees with it, if someone disagrees with it, then you've got to be able to prove that it is organic. You know what I mean? So you must have some sort of. So the AS 6000 standard just helps you develop your, organic management plan, your, biosecurity management plan, and your input list, and helps come up with evidence to substantiate your organic claim. So, so it's interesting. So I ended up partnering with another organic company called Oricorp, and they're very passionate people there as well. And what we started to do is offer people services in creating evidence that they want to live organically on their lifestyle block. So we started down that track as well, and helping people with that through Australian advocacy groups. So we were Australia's. It hasn't been done in Australia this way before, so it's sort of like a group certification. So it's been done elsewhere overseas, but what we do is AAG as a group are managing the process behind. We're providing the templates, and we're the communications and the admin and that sort of stuff to develop all these plans for these people. I do up the site plan of their property and this and that, and label all the stuff that needs to be done as per the state thing. And once we get that done, we send it off to Oricorp, who audit all that information to make sure it's all legitimate and right. And then once that audit process has been done, the property owner can sign off on it, and then we issue them a certificate saying that we're through Oricorp and co-signed with AAG. So you just got to be a member of AAG to do that. So so that's what we've been trying to do, and it's very, very, very disappointing that you just can't say, look guys, we don't want this poison on there, we want organic options, and they're unbelievable. So
It's unbelievable. Can I ask too? Well, as a prime producer, what sort of farming do you do? If you've already said, I'm sorry I missed it. But what farming do you
So
do?
I've got banana crops are my main vegetables.
Okay.
Well, herb that I grow. We also do exotic um, um, some exotic stuff. Passion fruit vines. We've got a couple of specialised passion fruit vines,
Okay.
dragon fruits, and that sort of stuff. But
Yeah.
Our small herd of Galloway cattle. I don't know whether they can come under primary producer because we're not producing meat out of them. We don't kill them for meat. We use them for pets and mental health
Okay.
purposes. So
Yeah,
but
because that's the other
but yeah,
thing. Coles
yeah,
now wants cows every 90 days a year or something to take this Bovet. Is it Bovet? Which is, and the Danish farmers are just, the cows are just dying. They're dying. Their guts are sick. I mean, they're being mandated to use it, but they're saying that it's the cows are really suffering, and then that's going to be sold into meat and sold in Coles.
And that's another issue that Don Watt has done an article on. You know, when I talk about all these general issues like that on the Substack channel.
I'll reach out to him, mate. He sounds good.
Yeah. So he's covered that one as well. But yeah, so it's quite interesting. So and obviously they really want to put their poison, so they're trying to deny the certification process and everything. Still working through that sort of thing. But it's been quite empowering. We've had 102 people sign up, so we're making it as cheap and cost effective as possible for people. But we figure if no one's been violated with the chemical that's signed up to that program yet, but there's no guarantee or anything with it because they are monsters. But we're creating enough evidence and enough things to do a lawsuit or some sort of class action should that occur later on. So that's all we're trying to do, is just build evidence, you know.
But what as a banana farmer, what issues are you facing? Are you facing issues due to either the cost of living or the government regulations, anything, or is it being a banana farmer pretty good?
Oh, it's not too bad. Like, I'm very, very lucky, I suppose, in my business endeavors because I've got a few other things with my mental health practice and my counseling and that sort of stuff. So the main products we got regular, and it's interesting, and I don't think many people realize it, but you make more money out of the banana leaves than you do out of the bananas because
really?
They get regenerated every week. And like, for example, you get a few people, different cultures and that, obviously multicultural Australia, especially in my area near Gaddon, different cultures do different things with banana leaves, and they're quite expensive to actually buy. So we actually have a lot of people come to the farm and they chop their own off, and we're very, very reasonable compared to other prices, and it's only like $1 a leaf or something. But you know, some people come and get 50 leaves a week or whatever, and you know, every week
a week. What do they do with them?
So some of the things they do, I think mainly the Filipinos might wrap it up into dumplings, into like dumplings. Some islander use it to wrap their fish up, to cook their fish. Underground, they got special words for it. There's a lot of Indian culture. It depends on where you come from as well. In India, they might use some that, like, if they like it sweet curry, then they would chop the tree after it flowers. It becomes sweeter. But if it's they'll chop the tree down and turn that into a curry before it flowers, if it's a savory dish that they're trying to do. So different cultures do different things with it. And bananas are pretty much not really the market that I have. So when we do get bananas, we usually like the wind might knock them down when they're still green, so we turn them into banana flour, for example. So we've got a dehydrator, and you chop up the green bananas, and then you chuck them in a grinder to make banana flour. And then if they ripen, or sometimes they might ripen and they're too small or not commercially, they don't look pretty or whatever, they're not quite right or whatever, you can chop them up and you turn them into banana buttons, put them in the dehydrator, and they're like a banana jerky. So they're the type of things we do sort of on the farm.
Cool.
And normally we don't have any problems. We don't have any interaction. Really, it's just this fire ant thing that started to really annoy us.
Does the fire ant poison affect the bananas at all?
Well, it does, yeah, for sure, it does. And they haven't done the research on it. They don't, and
so they don't even know.
They wouldn't know. No, they wouldn't know. It's if they put a blindfold on and just walk around in the dark, they're not going to find any evidence that there's any detriment to it. You know what I mean? And that's the problem that we've got. And as individuals, it's hard for us to establish. We haven't got the budget. Like even just an autopsy cost me $700, and they ignored that anyway. And they can just find, but you don't know this or you don't know that, but they don't know it either. But it's okay for them to put it on there. You know what I mean? So
was that an autopsy of a cow?
Hey,
was that an autopsy of a cow?
Of a calf, yeah. So I've lost 4 calves now. 4 calves. 2 were euthanized at 8 weeks. 6, I think it's 6 weeks.
Before fire ants, was that a common thing?
Never. And the first death
so that never lost a calf before.
Never lost a calf before
cows are pretty robust. And
the cows were pretty robust. And we lost 1 adult cow now. The first adult cow was lost.
Wow.
Blood tests on that was toxic liver failure from toxic poisoning and kidney failure from toxic poisoning, you know, and that was an older cow, about 16 years old, never had any history or any problems prior, you know. So and there's a lot of we've done a lot of work on establishing the science behind a lot of this stuff, but the main thing is, and Dr. Connie Turney's done a research paper on this as well, but the main thing is bioaccumulation and biomagnification in the environment. So this stuff is severely toxic if it gets in the waterway. So it gets in the waterways, it will kill your mussels, it will kill your crayfish, it will kill your fish, it will kill everything in the water, and even all the dragonflies that live in the water and all these other bugs that live in it, it'll kill all that. But things might eat some of them bugs or the frogs or whatever. Yeah. And it accumulates and magnifies as it goes up the food chain. Yeah, I mean, and they don't know that. And it says on their own documents from the manufacturer, bioaccumulation unknown. You know, it literally says it.
Unknown.
You know what I mean? But
so this is, you get to a point where you're like, guys, what are you doing? You live here too. You eat the same food. You know, you're not separate from us. You're not like visiting from another planet. You just, you know, you're eating the same food.
We're the only species on the planet that will poison our own food to stop other animals from eating it and eat the food ourselves.
I know. You just, I interviewed a doctor, a farmer down here in the Port Lincoln area, and he was talking about how many times now they spray the wheat. It's just constantly spraying it. And then even after they've collected it, he says apparently they still spray it then while it's sitting there under
it's a cycle.
And we eat it.
It's a cycle though, isn't it? Because they become dependent, and then they've got to keep doing it. You know what I mean? Because it's a cycle, and it can't not be done. But I've seen hay farmers now, as now I'm running my operations organically, then I'm sourcing out organic hay. And I've seen people can do it, and I talk to them about that, and they says that's exactly what it is. If you're killing out, putting the chemicals out, you're not only killing the bad bugs, but you're killing the good bugs. He says if you have if you maintain, equal nature has a pretty good way of equaling things out. You know what I mean? So they're the things that we're sort of looking at. But I'm a man of sort of practicality, I suppose, and these guys keep saying that there's no alternatives. They've got no alternatives to prophylactic treatment. So it doesn't work. 36,000 hectares in 2001 and 1.1 million hectares in 2025 is
and you were saying hot water works.
So we're using hot water. And interestingly, it's actually not my idea. It was a professor at a university at Central Florida, Joshua King, that came up with it, and he painted it, and we used it. We tried it. It works great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a really good solution. And it's probably as effective or more effective than their chemical distribution. So, but they won't do it. So, and like I spent. It was about $20,000 to set up the machine and then put it on a trial. It's probably close to $30,000 to set up the machine to do it, and because I thought if I did that, then I'd have an alternative, and they'll be happy. Oh, thanks for that, Trevor. We'll go and do it this way now. You know what I mean? Because if there's a way to help manage fire ants on people that have objections that doesn't affect their lifestyle or their organic farming or their principles or values, then that's a benefit because you want everyone involved. If you want to manage fire ants, you've got to get everyone on board. So getting a bigger hammer to hit these guys on the head that have objections is not the way to do it. You've got to work with them and come up with solutions that they're happy with.
Totally agree.
And they don't want to do that. So anyway,
can I ask what your thoughts are on just how dangerous fire ants are? I mean, if they've been here for 20 years, just how dangerous.
Well, they've been here for 45 years now. So they discovered them in,
so they've been here for
2001. They discovered
years.
them.
And to date, they haven't taken over. I mean, we're not finding old people.
I have. The problem is, it's like
picked down the bone by red fire ants.
It's like anything, Michael. Like if you force-fed Australian population peanut paste, 1.5 to 3% of the population are going to have adverse effects, and some people will die if left untreated. And that's a fact. But we're not banning peanut paste. And people love. I love peanut paste. I mean, same with bees, wasps, and same with paper wasp. Like my missus and my son would die if they didn't get medical intervention from a paper wasp thing. So I don't want to minimize the effects of fire ants. But it's no different to any other insect that causes problems, or any other food allergy, or any other anaphylactic situation that people can cover. Now, I do know a lady did have problems with fire ants, and they were killing her sheep, right? Some of her sheep were putting their nose on the fire ants, and the fire ants were biting the neck of the sheep, and it's a bit of swelling and blocking the sheep's airways, right? And she lost, I think all up, she lost 4 sheep to that. Then she went and talked to the vet, talked to the and worked through the situation. And now she's got access to a needle, and she can give the sheep, because they take 2 days to die. I mean, it doesn't happen. Yeah. Doesn't happen instantly.
It doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen.
So she can give them antihistamine, and that will stop them from dying, so you can treat them. But she didn't want the chemicals on her property because she had adverse effects with her dogs that she was breeding, and she was saying that there was interfering with the breeding cycle of her dog, so she didn't want the poison. So she was happy to pay me to go and treat she didn't want fire ants. No one really wants fire ants. I mean, this is the thing.
I get it.
But she wanted someone to treat it without the chemicals, because she had very love dogs and high quality show dogs that she didn't want impacted, that she's trying to breed. So she didn't want the chemicals around the dogs where they went when they thing. So we're treating the nest on her properly with the hot water, and we had Professor Nigel Andrew from Southern Cross University come and assess it for its effectiveness. And on the first treatment of that property, it was 90% effective. So we come back 3 weeks later, and we checked all the nests that we treated, and they were all, not 90% of them were. I think the statistics off the top of my head was 37 nests we treated that day, and then we come back and 33 of them were still dead, and there was minimal movement of fire ants in 4 of them. But of that, the fire ant nest was this big before, when we treated it, and now it's only like a little pocket of fire ants on the boundary or something like that. So even the ones that were active were significantly less size than what they were 3 weeks ago. So we treated them again, and in the meantime, there was a couple of other nests that popped up, in different areas or whatever, and we treated them as well. And then we come back at 3 weeks later, and it was 100% effective. So you can that's the type of thing you can do. So we done another property. It wasn't quite effective. It was only about 60% effective on the first shot. But the reason was it was all in built-up man-made garden beds. So it was a little bit harder to get them all. But even with the second treatment, it was over 90% effective even in that scenario. So with surveillance and monitoring, you can keep your place fire ant free. You just got to keep on top of it. You know what I mean? It's not that difficult.
So it's like constant maintenance, really.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But they're saying in their documents that six treatments is 99.99% effective to eradicate fire ants. But they're not telling the truth on that statistic, because they're only considering the ones that are there in that area. They're not considering of ones from the suppression area that are coming into that area through the in between the treatments. You know what I mean? So the treatments only last a couple of days. So the science doesn't even work for their baiting, because the queen is in a chamber underground in a sealed container underground for a month. So if they drop the bait and she's just underground for that month, she doesn't forage because she lives off her own body fat for that month. So the science behind that is not right anyway. You know what I mean? They're just
It's not
making stuff
thorough.
up to suit themselves. So, and evidence suggests from real life experience, we can point to all their own documentation and the fact that it's grown from 36,000 hectares to 1.1 million, that the chemical treatments that they are doing is actually creating an environment that will hasten the spread of fire ants by killing the native competition. And that's evidence that they were there for 20 years prior to their discovery, and they only got to 36,000 hectares. 25 years after they started poisoning, they got to 1.1. So they're actually moving quicker than what they did prior to treating them. You know what I mean? And that's a real life thing we can put to.
Why can't any of this common sense break through?
Don't know. It's really bizarre.
What is this? What is this wall that? Yeah, I don't understand it, because you're not radical. You're not. You're just speaking, and you're speaking from a place of just pure common sense. It's even saying it's worthy of a debate. Come on and debate, Trevor. Sit down and show us why Trevor's wrong. But
they can't
come on, if you're so assured that you think you're so assured in your plan that you're willing to just poison and kill everything in this sort of burning the fields approach. Why don't you just take a few moments, an hour out of your time, and come and tell Trevor why he's wrong, so all these protesters can go home and go, no, the government's right.
That's right.
Blanket poisoning is the way
that's the problem. The problem is, the biggest problem is, they lie about their use of PFAS chemicals. They've made public statements saying fipronil is not a PFAS chemical. They've made that public statement. That is false and that is wrong. They've made a false and misleading statement that indoxacarb is not a PFAS chemical. They've made false and misleading statements that they do not use any PFAS chemicals in their program, when bifenthrin is used as a barrier spray on the hay. And if you watch that 45 minutes, you can see that guy actually says it makes him feel wheezy, and a whole crew of workers left because they were forced to put it in the soil. That's how bad it is. But they lie about things all the time about these sort of stuff. There's no adverse non-target effects. Originally they were saying, it's very specific to fire ants. That's what they were telling people, but it's not specific to fire ants at all. It'll kill any ant that touches it, and generally any insect that comes in contact with it. You know what I mean? So
when I was convalescing after my heart attack in on the Gold Coast or the Sunshine Coast, one of them, I can't remember. They'd been spraying there, and I used to do something as I did as a kid. There was a little garden. I always used to sit on the grass and look in the grass. I always loved seeing the insects. Nothing, not a beetle, not an ant, nothing, no butterflies, nothing. And then because there's no insects, no birds. And I remember just sitting there going, this is a nightmare. How can you? And what they said was, once we kill everything, the native ants will slowly come back. I got you 200 kilometers away. What do you think the ants is going to fly? It's going to book a flight on a dragonfly and take me to the coast.
And that's some of the false things that they've got. They make these assumptions. So basically, they're just trying to use this as an experiment in regards to how good they are. So they're very egotistical, I suppose, in the fact that they want this process to work, so they can create this process and package it up and market it to other places that are suffering from fire ants as a biosecurity industry. So if they could come up with a solution, there's billions of dollars in it for them if they can do it. No other country's been able to eradicate fire ants where there's infestations over 10,000. They're trying to eradicate it over 1.1 million. But it's just ludicrous. They're never going to do it. And I don't know why they haven't called it yet, but they can't call it because they're going to look like stupid fools, I suppose. You know what I mean? This is the problem with these things. But the interesting thing is, I think the fundamental thing that's missing is they're forgetting that they're the public servant. I'm the public. I'm saying to them, and this was evident even in the New South Wales, Department of Primary Industries. I was in contact with them, and they said, "You got no evidence." I said, "Well, I didn't know I was in a court of law. I thought I was just talking to you, reporting adverse effects as a member of the public, saying, look, we need to look at this. You guys are the government. You go and find the evidence. Why is it up to me to get it? You know, I mean, this is the problem when it comes. You know, they're the government. They're the ones that are doing these programs. They're the ones that are doing it, and they expect individuals to go and fund and do the research for them. And the only research that's available is through government-funded organizations. It's just ridiculous. You know, I mean, if it wasn't so serious, it would be comical, wouldn't it? You know.
Well, so, it's almost like comic tragedy. You know what I mean? You feel like you're in a version of Yes Minister or Monty Python all mixed up.
That's right.
It just that's what I'm saying. I'm noticing it's a huge community in Australians now who really just want to get back to common sense. And that's why we need free speech. Let's talk it out, use free speech to identify the problem, and let's use our beautiful brains to come up with solutions.
I think critical thinking is gone.
It is gone.
Yeah, critical thinking is gone. Yeah.
And how do you, someone who does critical thinking, you're like, if you're trying to use your critical thinking to convince someone who doesn't do critical thinking, it's like hitting a squash ball in a court against the wall. You know, it's just bang. You know, it's just and everything you've said doesn't get through. And if it wasn't affecting them, I'd get it, but it is affecting them. You are going to be affected. In fact, you don't even know how it's going to affect you. You know,
and that's why I'm continuing on. So I've actually developed the FASO. We've been calling it FASO, fire ant soup operations, because we've been using the hot water to make fire ant soup. Is what we've been doing. But I've actually got a 1.5 ton excavator tracks, custom built. I bought them from China and imported them in because obviously that's the cheapest way of doing them, because power's too dear and manufacturing's gone in this country. You can't really make anything here. But anyway, I played the stupid game and I got this a beautiful set of tracks, and I done up a design for the platform to go above the tracks to sit my fire ant machine on. So I want to take it off the trailer and put it on this set of tracks. I retrofitted the trailer out. I found a hydraulic partner because it used to have a belt that went from the Honda motor to the water pump, and it used to spin it because the Honda motor spins at 3,600 revs, 3,600 revs a minute or whatever, and the a water pump only wanted to spin at 1,450 revs, so they had to reduce the speed. So we sacked all that now, and we put like a hydraulic pump on the motor, and then we put a hydraulic motor on the water pump, and we've connected up to there. So now we can actually connect up the tracks, the hydraulic tracks, and move it independently and actually drive it around. So it actually becomes a biosecurity utility vehicle. So you can actually
it's great,
because I can treat fire ants, but also other insects and that sort of stuff with the low flow application that we got. But
you could even have AI. If you had an AI computer that could actually identify the fire ants, you know.
And you can do that. And I'm going to set up, but I decided to put a 850 kg excavator arm on the front of it as well, so we can dig out lantana and that sort of stuff. So we built this thing so we can actually do steam, we can actually do high pressure wash, so hot wash. So one of the biggest problems and one of the spreading things with fire ants is councils, lawn mowing services or all the parks and that. The vehicles are moving from area to area without getting washed down on the site. You know what I mean? They're not getting a hot wash.
Spreading the fire ants.
They're spreading everywhere. So this machine can actually do hot wash, anywhere. Come to the park and do a hot wash at your park and wash down the tractors and wash down the vehicles. And if there is a fire ant nest, you can treat it. You can, if you see lantana, you can dig it out, or you can use steam, or you can use, you can even generate electricity and use electro-weeding, the new technology where you can put the electronics on the weed and that sort of stuff. So we're building a utility vehicle which is registrable in Queensland as a primary producer utility vehicle if I keep it under 2 ton. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I'm going to be promoting that as a biosecurity option because...
And that could be healthy jobs for people. Instead
That's
of going
right,
out
and that's what we could do. $1.2 billion. Every single council could have had 10. Every single football field could have had one. Every single park could have. $1.2 billion could have paid for a lot of these alternative machines to be built.
That's right.
We could have created the whole industry out of it.
You've got a constant job forever because you're never going to get rid of fire ants. You're going to have to manage them. And so this is a tool for managing them. You know,
and that's what I want to promote. That's what I want
sense.
to promote. And that's what I'm doing. And that's what I try to work on fundamental initiatives that are backed by science. It is backed by science. It's proven to be
just not their science.
Just not their science. That's right. So that's what we're trying to do and trying to put pressure on them with that because it's not good enough for us to say this is bullshit. You shouldn't be doing that because
no, you're coming up with an alternative.
We've got to manage fire ants.
You're coming up. So, I think that's great, man. I applaud you. It's just this baffling time where you know I don't even know what we call it common sense anymore. It should be exclusive or scarce sense. I don't know.
But I do think we are getting a lot of momentum because there's a lot of farmers down in Victoria and that are getting similar sort of treatment with their power transmission lines and their fundamental private rights down there. And it's interesting that the Nationals actually spoke out against that, but they won't speak up against Queenslanders having their private property rights violated, or contravened. It's quite interesting because of the fear factor of fire ants are going to eat your baby, like this sort of stuff. And the way they misrepresent data and science, is second to none. They're very good at it. They're very good at lying, cheating, manipulating data to suit their own agenda. And they're literally, they call it pseudoscience, I'm sure, where they selectively look for data to support what they want to do rather than using science to formulate the best approach moving forward, because world-renowned pest management is integrated pest management. You have biocontrol, you can use the chemicals, you can have alternatives to chemicals, and having like a whole approach, not just a chemical only approach, but they actually have a chemical only approach, but it must be only their chemicals. So it's even worse than that. But having and then they're putting it out willy-nilly, but you can actually have subterranean canisters, put the chemicals in there with holes in them, and the ants can get in, but it's not going to wash into the water. There are other ways you can manage these chemicals in a way that the homeowners are going to be more receptive to, that can meet their objectives, but they're not interested at all. They're not interested in anything except what they want to do.
I know, that's
very,
the
very
frustrating
disappointing.
thing. It's more disappointing. It's almost like, well, I think they sort of should have an obligation to justify, well, why won't you listen to these alternatives?
Well, they do have. It's actually written into legislation under Section 12 of the Biosecurity Act. They must administer the Act as practical as possible for the interest of industry, business, and individuals alike, and the Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders or whatever as well is in there. But it's actually in there. So, but they just ignore that because they say fire ants are going to eat your baby. We're the experts, and we're going to do it our way. But I've had four independent scientists from within their employment that have reached out supporting me, and they tell me that they cannot speak out publicly about these problems because they will lose their job. So that's not science.
So they've actually said that. They've actually said that.
Four people from the scientific community inside the NFAEP Department of Primary Industries have said we support you, and they tell me about, and they send me links about the problems with the ladybugs and dung beetles and these other things, because if you kill all the dung beetles, then suddenly the horse manure is staying in the paddock longer. And then it's getting stuck on their feet longer, and they're causing other knock-on effects from that. So there's all these knock-on effects that have just been ignored, and these people are telling me they cannot speak out because they're employed by the government. So I think a lot of people, like even nurses, for example, that want to speak out against the program and poison and that sort of stuff, but they cannot because they'll lose their job. It's in their employment contract. They cannot speak out against the government program. And that's where I feel
83% of the people who got a job last year were government jobs.
government
that's
jobs.
83. All those 83 are silenced.
Yeah, they got to be. Yeah, they got to be. And that's the problem, the fundamental problem. So if we want to have real outcomes, positive outcomes in Australia, we need to have academic voices that are able to speak. Otherwise, what's the point of them if they cannot?
Liberated voices that can just speak the truth, and we benefit from that. No, it's all about control. It's just there's any way you look at it, it either comes down to stupidity, they're incompetent, or they just want control. They just want it. And that's the only thing they're after.
I honestly don't believe too much in conspiracies because there's a lot of thing about like these 15-minute cities. I don't know if you've spoken about them before, but people are talking about
we've heard about them. Cities. They've heard about them. We're seeing things. I haven't seen any particular evidence yet, but we've heard about them,
So people are talking about 15-minute cities, and they're talking about this, and getting rid of all that. And there are signs like that. What they're doing with the hay farmers, for example, they are literally sending them broke. There are generational farmers out there that are going broke. They're making them pay money to inspect. To inspect their properties before they send the hay out. Sometimes it could take 2 weeks for them inspectors to get there. But when people buy hay, they want the hay that day. They don't want to wait 2 weeks for an inspector to inspect it. There's never been any infestation of fire ants in hay, and yet they have these strict control measures in place for the primary producer, and they have to be audited and inspected by the Department of Primary Industries. Why we can do our own tax. We can self-assess our own tax. Why can't these generational farmers self-assess their own operations? They know their operations better than them. It's in their best commercial interest not to distribute fire ants with their hay because clients won't come back. They don't want fire ants. You know what I mean? So, and their reputation is worth more than the cost of the hay on that specific sale. So they're going to do what's required not to transport. And yet the vectors, like the brick industry, had bricks central Queensland and infected all the mine sites. There's no restrictions on brick sales, you know what I mean? There's no restrictions on manufacturing. The wharf where the ants actually come in the first place, plus they've been to Perth a few times and Brisbane to Townsville or whatever from the wharf operations, they haven't restricted them at all. They're still operating as well, but the New South Wales and Queensland border with, hey, let's put a big wall up there and stop them from trading. Let's charge all these guys heaps of money for us to inspect their stuff. They're not doing that to any other industry, but they're doing it to hay farmers. You know what I mean?
So they're going to drive the hay farmers out of business.
Yeah. And the turf farmers are probably already out of business. They were fining them $60,000 and doing all sorts of crazy stuff with them.
Oh my Lord.
And even with the bifenthrin they were using to get the fire ants out of the turf, they changed the withholding period from 42 days to 3 days so they can do it. And even by doing that, the fire ants come in because the fire ants develop chemical resistance, and they develop. They're a super pest, for God's sake.
So they're immune. They're immune. So in the end, the only ants who'll be dying will be our natives, and they'll be prospering.
And that's exactly what we're saying. So in the areas where there are fire ants, they're, especially on the invasion front, they're quite thick, and that's probably the only ant you're going to see, isn't it? But yeah, it's quite interesting, and I don't know why. I try to move away from conspiracy and just think that there's someone making money out of this. Like the helicopter contracts are not tendered; they didn't get tendered. You know what I mean? Like they just and I don't know.
The poison itself must be
the poison itself, you know. And it's interesting that they have that hidden behind cabinet in confidence, and for 25 years they lied and misrepresented it as being organic. The S-methoprene engaged product has been organic. You know, which is they changed the withholding on S-methoprene on organic farms from 12 months to 3 weeks specifically so they can make that claim. But that's on the national standard that they manage because they own it, so they can change it. And that's what I was trying to get to before. They own the national export standard for organics. But the rest of the world still has a 12-month withholding period. So if the rest of the world starts hearing, oh, hang on a minute, our $3 billion industry on organics is being compromised by these idiots who just put genetically modified, prohibited products on all the land everywhere. You know what I mean? And then there's at least a 5-year withholding period on that land once they do it, and they're forcing people to have it. It's just really, really weird. I don't know why. There's no.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And when you get to don't know why, you've just got to look, well, where's the money going? Someone here is making money, because it's not making any sense from a health point of view or a pest eradication point of view. I mean, it just doesn't make sense anywhere. And everything you're saying makes sense, and yet the nonsense is in charge. So it makes you think. It suggests that there has to be money somewhere. Someone somewhere is making a lot of money, and you're paying the bill, really, with your health.
It's extortion, because they're not accepting any. They're not accepting any other offering from any other licensed pest controller. They're not accepting any other options from anyone else except for theirs. So if you're in the eradicate, it doesn't matter whether you pay a pest controller that's going to do something different, to their license, and even if it's chemical or not chemical, it doesn't matter. But they're not accepting anything else, and they're going to do their way anyway. So it's forcing people to accept what they have to offer, even though there are other people offering similar outcomes with other products, but they're not allowing that. So in my view, I'm a simple man. I feel that the best approach would be to take the power out of the department, give the funding to the homeowner or to the resident or to the farmer in a subsidy way. So if you've got fire ant problems, then you can get subsidized, and you can use the competitive workforce of the commercial industry to choose what's cost effective, fit for purpose, and customer focused to your values. So if you don't care about chemicals, or you don't care about any adverse effects or whatever, you can go and pick the cheap chemical guy that will put the chemicals everywhere. But if you care about it, and you want to pay a little bit more to get the hot water system out there or whatever, then that's your choice. You know what I mean? And it shouldn't cost government any more money. So because you're getting subsidized the same as everywhere else. So I just think having more power to the individual who's managing their private land is warranted. That's what I just.
I'm not a betting man, but I would do a wager that our government is never going to sway to the idea of giving more power to the people.
No. And not only that, they're not even going to acknowledge the hot water. Like, it's just really bizarre, because even last week, or might have been last month now, they did put a lot of Facebook posts and that out, that hot water is not effective. They purposely do that.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, they purposely do it. They say hot water is not effective, but they haven't assessed this process. This process went through a big patented process in the United States. It hasn't been done before. It's licensed through the University of Central Florida. The National Fire Ant Eradication Program has not assessed this technology, has not assessed this strategy, has not assessed this process that we're using, and yet they're making these claims that hot water is not effective based on the fact that they got a hot water in a bucket once and tipped it down a nest, back in 10 years ago or whatever. I mean, this is the problem with it, because it's like anything. Not all hot water is hot water, is it? Like this is a continuous flow hot water. It's on demand flow, and it goes at a low flow rate at 5 liters a minute, between 5 and 15 liters a minute, depending on the soil type or whatever. But it's a slow flow, continuous hot water between 90 and 95, or just before boiling, and you can set that to whatever it wants, and you can use as much hot water as you want. It's there forever. It's a continuous. It's a furnace that creates hot water on demand. You know what I mean?
Look, I think I couldn't see how, if people, it just makes so much sense. And the fact is, we're having so many people in the public now. They want to move. So many citizens now don't want chemicals. They're sick of chemicals. There's people getting turbo cancers, getting sick everywhere. Some say it's this, some say it's that, but we're surrounded by chemicals, and it's not. It's appearing not to be that good for us.
And the other thing that I wanted to mention is, I mentioned before. So the chemicals that the queen takes flight, and she burrows down in a sealed chamber. And if the baits are put on top of her in the early stages, she's living off her body fat for up to a month before the first first minions, they call them, come out, the first lot of ants, about 14 ants or whatever, and they've all lived off her body fat for that month. So any chemical distribution above that is not killing that queen. You know what I mean?
No.
And what they say, oh yeah, but you can't visually identify ants until they're about 2 months, which is true, right? So I can identify quite easily about 1,000 fire ant nests. You know, if there's 1,000 ants in that nest, I can identify it, and that's about 2 months. 2 months of establishment, right?
Okay.
They can't do anything with them for the first month anyway because they're still underground. But even when they're first coming out, they're not there frolicking as much. They're there doing brood. They go and steal other fire ants' nest eggs and bring them back to help their queen out to become successful quicker. You know what I mean? So they are a super pest. But at 2 months, I can identify these fire ants. I can visually see them with a inspection, and even an amateur at 3 months, could probably identify them quite easily anyway. But the first sexuals don't develop until about 12 months. So you've got plenty of time to identify them and treat them with the hot water system. There's no reason why at 3 or 4 months, if it takes you 2 months, 3 months, or even 4 months, or even 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, or even 8, 9, or 10 months before you treat them, the sexuals haven't left the nest yet. So that's okay. So there's no reason why, if you have a monthly inspection and you treat all the fire ants on that property that first month, come back in a month later, 3 to 4 weeks later, see how much is successful, see if there's any more been there, and you treat it again, and you come back a month later, and you did that 3 times, you would clear up all the fire ant nests that are there, because all the ones that were underground are, you can start to see them now. If you do it for 3 months, you can find them after 2 months. So if you did it every month for 3 months, you're right. And then if you've done your proper inspection once a quarter after that, you're not causing any adverse effects with fire ant spread, because you're treating them before their sexuals get released into the environment. So it's absolutely no reason why they cannot work with a community to do that. So, but
there's some reason, and they won't tell us, but there's some reason. Thanks for coming on, mate. You're fantastic. I knew you were going to be great.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm just about out of battery now anyway. But
I knew you were going to be great. You've been fantastic. And I reckon the government must hate your guts, mate.
Well, they do. We'll see what happens. I'll keep you informed.
Stubborn photographic memory guy. They must hate your guts. Yeah.
I'll reach out after my court case on the 25th of March, guys, and let you know.
Yeah, do that. Let's hear about it, and we'll get you back on and have another chat. Yeah, do that, man.
No worries. Thanks.
See you, Trevor.
When I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old, and he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. Tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia. Back down the road I but to whom we're not quite sure. So head down